Redraft ends, but Dynasty is life. I'm Theo Gremminger, repeat guest. You know him. Cody Carpentier. You don't need a long introduction for the Dynasty Life crowd. Cody, you're crushing it this time of year. This is like your time to shine, ripping, running all the way up to NFL Draft Day. We're 36 days out, my friend, from the time we're recording this until Thursday night opener. How hyped are you? How much sleep are you getting?
Trying to get as much sleep as possible, but even if I go to bed late, the alarm still goes off at 4:30 for my wife. But we hit the gym, we hit the sauna, try to hit the cold plunge a couple days a week, and we get after it. But repeat guest, like you said, man, it's always a new day. Always repeat, but always new, and it's always a new conversation, even if we touch on some of the same players. But I appreciate you having me on as always, Theo.
Yeah, and a big shout out to our YouTube audience who have been really, really big for Dynasty Life. Dynasty Life is leaving Player Profiler YouTube on April 1st. So you need to subscribe to the direct feed of Dynasty Life. Dynasty Life is also going to be leaving the Player Profiler podcast network. More announcements for the show down the line, but you need to subscribe to the Dynasty Life direct feed, whether you're a YouTube listener, watcher, or if you're listening to the pod feed on the Player Profiler feed, make sure you're subscribing directly to the Dynasty Life feed. Cody Carpentier is going to be back soon enough, too. So I keep you coming back, Cody, because you're really one of the best in the industry when it comes to NFL draft and also fantasy football focused NFL draft prognostication, and also the way you're able to project these players as pros. I know you have been crushing it with the draft ranking show. Let everybody know once again where they can find that and sort of what that is.
The Draft Ranking Show is exactly what it sounds like. It's an NFL draft centric podcast that comes out every single morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time on its own YouTube feed, the Draft Ranking Show. It's a green logo. And then on podcast feed, I have my own podcast feed as well. It's a Draft Ranking Show, as well as you can get it on the podcast feed from Player Profiler, but it doesn't come out until 7 p.m. on the Player Profiler podcast feed. So if you want to get it earlier, like every single day at 7 a.m., go over there and get it there. But basically, it's sub 10 minutes. It's 10 minutes or less. Sometimes it goes over. Maybe it's 10 minutes, 30 seconds, whatever. Sometimes I miss my threshold, but it's 10 minutes every morning talking something about the 2025 NFL draft, and soon enough, it'll be the 2026 NFL draft.
Yeah, I had a chance to go on and record a couple of those episodes with you. It's absolute fire because you can, if you are a 1.2, what is your podcast listening speed, Cody? Before we do this one, everybody's got their own special number. Are you a classic man? Like you don't mess with that? Are you a freak who does it up to like 1.5, 1.75? Where are you at?
Well, I mean, the freaks is Matthew Friedman. Shout out to the Fantasy Football Oracle, one of the OGs of the whole space. I think he's up over like 2, 3, something like that. He's maniacal. I don't know how you can even, my brain doesn't work that fast. It works pretty quick, but not that fast in a listening concept. Sometimes I'll listen to a pod a couple times, but my speed for a pod, depending on the person, some pods are, fulfilled at 1.0, but there's a good portion of people out there that I'll listen to at like 1.2, 1.4.
1.2, 1.4. You're raw on one. 1.25 is my preferred speed. I'll give a shout out to our guy, Scott Connor, Destination Devi. He's a 2. So he's like, I listen to podcasts at 2x speed. I'm like, some of these guys speak really, really quickly. I know for me, for Dynasty Life, when I listen back to some of my pods, I sound super kind of sped up and crazy when I'm at 1.5. Then you've got some slow, methodical speaking guys out in the industry who sound fine at 1.5. So 1.25, everybody sounds all right.
If you ever listen to the over on the Roster Watch feed, if you ever listen to Trash Man's new show, he does a solo every morning. Trash Man show, I think you could listen to on 3.0.
The Trash Man is got those slow vibes. You guys are down south. You guys
Deep
live thinker. A little different than me. Deep thinker. I'm on Long Island. I'm trying to get a million things done at once. But when I bring up the podcast speed, the draft ranking show, if I'm at 1.25, even if I'm driving somewhere for 8 minutes, 10 minutes, I'm in and out the gate. And Cody, I also give you a shout out your YouTube page. More people need to subscribe to the Draft Rankings YouTube page. It's great. And also you get these Cody Carpentier big face thumbnails where it's like Cody shocked face, Cody bored face. You mix it up. It's like the big face big face thumbnails. It's great though. I really enjoyed the ones I really enjoy is you do these 7-round ones where you project the team's entire draft. And I think it really shows your depth and knowledge. I mean, I'm not going to go past a 3-round NFL draft until we get down to the nitty gritty in terms of my articles. So the guys doing the 7-rounders, big shout out. You have to go deep into the weeds and really, really get into the team needs and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to be dropping another NFL mock draft article at Player Profiler probably next week. That should be a lot of fun. Cody, we're again 36 days out from the NFL draft when we're recording this. Give us your current top 5 NFL draft picks.
Man, it's tough. I was talking to you before the show. I just did like this super quick 10-minute mock on the draft rankings that we were just talking about, where you just kind of run through it. And I made a couple mistakes in it, and I got done and I realized, like, man, I really overthought the beginning of that draft. And it's become more and more clear kind of what this top 5 is kind of projecting to look like. It's pretty obvious right now that Tennessee's likely to go that Cam Ward route. And if it's not Tennessee going Cam Ward, I think that the Giants are the team that gets up to 1 and gets Cam Ward. That's kind of where I'm at with that. So I think the spot is at least nails for Cam. 2 for Cleveland. At this point, there's a lot of stuff in the water as far as the Cleveland Browns situation goes, right? They go and trade for Kenny Pickett, trade away DTR, get Kenny Pickett. They had Russell Wilson in for a visit. There's this Kirk Cousins buzz of, well, he's attached to Stefanski, but I'll be honest with you, Theo, every time we hear something like this, well, so-and-so's attached here because of prior coaching connections. It's like it never really ever comes to fruition. So I think the Kirk Cousins situation is going to sit and wait till probably the draft, the day after the draft, in the middle of the draft, whenever that thing happens, if he's traded. So for Cleveland, I'm pretty much back to the Shedeur Sanders sweepstakes there. And then at 3, I think you're looking at the Giants. Again, if the Giants don't move up to 1, the Giants are sitting there at 3. And for me, man, I really believe the Giants are going to end up with one of Russ or Rodgers. And if there's a quarterback here, I think you obviously make that move, but I think it's Russ or Rodgers in New York. And I'm leaning more and more towards Russ. And man, if you're trying to save your job, they have Brian Burns. They have Kayvon Thibodeau. I don't think you can afford, even though I think Abdul Carter is fantastic, you can't afford to expend another piece on the edge when you can continue to just play good defensive football. You need to have that Travis Hunter playing opposite of Malik Neighbors. And if you can have that, you have a Tyron Tracy in that backfield with the Russell Wilson, continue to build the offensive line. The Giants are happy there. And then at 4, you have the New England Patriots. I think Hunter's available for that one. But if Abdul falls here, that's Abdul. And then the if I'm making a cheat sheet of like options for New England, I'm not buying the Will Campbell stuff. I don't think they go right tackle with Membo. I think Kelvin Banks is real. And then at 5, I'm still on the Mason Graham track. So 1, Cam Ward, 2, Shedeur Sanders, 3, I'm leaning Travis Hunter. 4 would be Abdul Carter in this situation, and 5 would be Mason Graham from Michigan.
So for me, I'm with you. It's Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, 1, 2. At the 3 spot, I think there's going to be a lot of internal pressure for Abdul Carter in New York. You just brought up the fact that they have Thibodeau, that they have Brian Burns, that they went out and got Brian Burns and all this kind of stuff. I think for me, that's a franchise that really values the guys that can really do it on the edge. And maybe that's the way we're going to catch Philly, is we're going to be so good and so deep on the defensive line. But I think can't beat them, join them, right? And also, that Daniels guy in Washington's pretty good. I think an Abdul Carter would make you a little bit better when defending him and the mob that Washington's putting together on offense. But for me, I think I agree with you. I think at the end of the day, it's Travis Hunter. His ability to play both sides of the ball and the fact that they have an alpha in Malik Neighbors, where he will have less pressure on him offensively. He can go in there and be a guy that's maybe a 85 target guy and still play a lot of defense. Or they could just say, forget you, Theo. We're going to go get Travis Hunter 130 targets. Hell, we got Wandale 140 last year. And, he can play situationally at defensive back. Anyway, you cut it. Hunter makes them a better football team. I think that Carter goes inside the top 5. The one guy that I think gets in there, not Mason Graham, I think it's going to be Membo. I think Armand Membo is going to end up getting in there. I think whether it's a team maneuvering up to the 5, Jacksonville seems like a team that could trade down. They could just take Membo themselves. But I think when you mentioned San Francisco, like at 11, San Francisco's a team that I think could move up, get Membu, get him and view him as an elite guy, younger prospect, and like a just kind of like a plug and play all pro offensive lineman. Graham will be, if he doesn't go in the top 5, will go 6 or 7 anyway. So that's sort of where we're at. I think Jeanty goes 6, and we could keep doing this all day. But today, it's fantasy football. We don't want to talk too much about defensive players. We are going to drop a 2-round rookie mock draft, and Cody's a real one. Shout out to Alan Seslowski and Dave Kluge, who were my guests a little over a week ago. We did a super flex tight end premium rookie mock draft. We did 3 rounds, but our boy Alan Seslowski, he's a noted single QB hater. Cody's old school. Cody will draft some single QB. So shout out to you, Alan, who's anti-single QB. Got a lot of single QB dynasty listeners and viewers who are like, Theo, where's the love for these single QB leagues? I got plenty of single QB leagues. That's what we're drafting today. Cody Carpentier in the house. No better place to be than Dynasty Life today. This is going to be a lot of fun. We'll be right back.
Rookie. It's all about rookie talk in fantasy football right now. So why not go use all that knowledge to do something other than a mock draft? Chris Gimino won $8,000 with just 2 teams last year, and each draft took 5 minutes. That's pretty good ROI. You can start doing rookie drafts for money today on Fast Draft. The Origins tournament is live. It is the place to go and monetize your knowledge of rookies and use your favorite Player Profiler host promo code for a $25 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
Welcome back to Dynasty Life. Theo Gremminger with Cody Carpentier of Roster Watch, of Orange Bloods, of the Draft Ranking Show, and Cody will be joining Matt Kelly and I next week on the Sonic Truth Dynasty podcast. We're going to record that on Thursday. I think we're going live, Cody. That should be a lot of fun. Cody's been on Sonic Truth, always crushes it when he's with Matt and I. And a reminder to the YouTube audience here, Dynasty Life is leaving Player Profiler YouTube starting April 1st. So go ahead and subscribe to the podcast link, Spotify link, Apple link. I'm going to put them both in the YouTube show description. But if you subscribe to podcasts elsewhere, Dynasty Life is everywhere. And Dynasty Life will be on its own podcast feed only, not on the Player Profiler main feed. So make sure you subscribe directly to the Dynasty Life feed. Big shout out to the audiences who've been watching this on Player Profiler YouTube and certainly on the Player Profiler main feed. We're over 60 episodes in on Dynasty Life here, Cody. I think you've been on about 4 of them. So big shout out to the audience. I hope to continue seeing you in the chat and you guys listening in. But let's get this draft going. Single QB. Let's go PPR. And you're the guest. So do you want to go no tight end premium or do you want to go with a little tight end premium?
No premium, and I want the 102.
Okay. There we go. So I'm not going to waste anyone's time here. This is single QB. And even if it was super flex, the 101 is easy. It's Ashton Jeanty. It's Ashton Jeanty. It's Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty to the moon. The 102 has closed the gap. But even if, I'll wait till you make your selection, Cody. But let's say even if my 102 lands perfectly and my 101 Ashton Jeanty lands a little bit not perfectly, I'm still going to go Ashton Jeanty at the 101. He's Teflon. He's can't miss. And he's a guy that I want exposure to on my dynasty teams. This is a guy where I think 2 years from now, Cody, if you told me that Ashton Jeanty is the 101 in redraft this year, I'm like, fine. How many years in a row can he do it? So that's where I'm at. Ashton Jeanty 101 off the board. You're at the 102.
Not gonna do anything special. I thought about it, but I'm gonna take Omarion Hampton from North Carolina. We've talked about him numerous times on this show, on my show, and other shows. This guy presents comps like Jonathan Taylor, DeMarco Murray, Adrian Peterson, like physical traits. Maybe not quite, but kind of traits there. So my question for you, and I'll just ask it this way because everybody knows this is one of the top names, and we've talked about this guy on end. In seasonal leagues, Theo, if you're forecasting, 3, 4, 4 or 5 months down the road, if Jeanty does go 6th overall to the Raiders, if Hampton goes 20 to Denver, is there a chance that at some point in the pre-2025 seasonal drafts, Omarion Hampton might jump the shark and get over Ashton Jeanty? in ADP?
I think that's a really interesting way of looking at it. I'll say you could maybe throw Dallas in the mix too, because Dallas, I think people will be a little more excited about that offense. For me, I will say that Jeanty's already so insulated in the community. Hampton would have to have an extremely steam run up. We saw it with Jahmyr Gibbs, where he started to creep up in late August, early September drafts, where Gibbs was like mid second round, end of the second round. I think Hampton would go ahead of him. I would say Hampton in Denver, we'd start talking about him around like pick 15. I think Jeanty in the Chip Kelly offense, the more and more people dive into like what the Chip Kelly offense is going to be in terms of the plays run, in terms of the tempo, in terms of the aggressiveness, I think they're going to get more and more into Jeanty, and I think he's just slightly more insulated in the community. But yeah, if Omarion Hampton lands in Denver, Cody, I mean, 1-2 turn, top 15, Jeanty's right there, and people are enthusiastic about drafting running backs this year. They're going to look at both of these guys as sort of a cheat code. You could even make a parallel here, Cody, to Malik Neighbors with Marvin Harrison Jr. last year, where Neighbors would go in like the second round, but at the end of the day, Harrison went a few picks before. And in wide receiver heavy leagues, it was like you could see Neighbors in some of those August, September, like NFFC drafts going like 15th overall, but Harrison was gone at 11. So I think like the disparity would be way less wide, but I still think it's Jeanty.
I think you're probably right. What if I entertain the thought of, I know we got to make a pick here. We're not going to be here all for 2 hours, but the thought of, all right, Jeanty's going to be there without the best offensive line possible. Why wouldn't you take Armand Membu in the first round if you're the Raiders, and then come back in the second round and take one of the Ohio State running backs that you've already seen in that Chip Kelly offense? That, I think, for me, is a bigger boost in the rankings for guys that are already 3 and 4. I think they get a bigger lifetime value bump.
And I'll throw that's sort of the practical move there, isn't it? To get Membu, and then Henderson or Judkins both had such success with Chip Kelly. I sort of projected Judkins to be the Raiders pick for a while. Now it's looking like the Vegas books are telling us it's going to be Jeanty, but that sort of that makes the most sense, doesn't it? We'll see but NFL teams, they get those stars in their eyes. I'll bring up one other scenario. Okay, so let's say that Jeanty goes at 10 to Chicago, so that's the one where if he goes 10 to Chicago, you still have and it's a coordinator who, a head coach who has a propensity to use 2 backs, like always does, for years. Ben Johnson got the production out of these guys, but it was still he prefers a running back by committee approach with 2 backs. That's the situation where I think Hampton could jump him in redraft, where Chicago people are like, yeah, it's going to be a little more balanced, and they're going to work in a second back. Jeanty's great, but look at Hampton. Denver has the offensive line. Denver has the mobile quarterback. They'll also use Hampton as a receiver out of the backfield. Maybe Jeanty has DeAndre Swift next to him, and that becomes sort of annoying. So there's scenarios, but I don't think the scenario is 6 overall at Vegas. I think the scenario is another team. I'll tell you the true nightmare, the nightmare one. The nightmare one is New Orleans at 9, a franchise that doesn't know what to do sometimes, and they take the best offensive player available at Jeanty, and you just see it now. Everybody's thinking he's going to drop to 10 to Chicago. Vegas went with an offensive lineman. Maybe Vegas took Mason Graham, and New Orleans says, you know what? Let's get our Alvin Kamara successor. And how do we protect a sort of middling quarterback like Derek Carr? We're going to go with the two running back, 2-headed monster approach. This will be tough for defenses to deal with, but it'll be really annoying for fantasy managers. That's your nightmare scenario. There it is, Cody.
I think the door opens later on, though. If they can cut Kamara, that would be a lot of thoughts going on there. But long-winded answer of Omarion Hampton here at the second pick overall.
Okay, so 103. I'm OTC. I could go a number of ways here, but I'm going to go Tet McMillan because I want to hear Cody talking Tet McMillan after I make this pick. So that's going to influence this pick a lot. But for me right now, Tet McMillan is my 103 in single QB rankings. If you want access to my rankings, want access to Cody's rookie rankings, the rookie guide is dropping at Player Profiler. You can get it as an all-in subscriber. You can get it with a Dynasty Deluxe. You can buy it individually. You get my rankings, Cody's rankings, John Lobb's rankings, Jagger May's rankings, Jax Falcone's rankings, player write-ups, NFL comps. It's got a lot. It's even got some rookie strategy guide stuff that I wrote. That's going to be a lot of fun. So we can see where I have Tet McMillan at the 103 in my single QB rankings. I still believe him to be a worthy wide receiver 1 in this draft and a worthy wide receiver 1 for multiple years. When it comes to Tet McMillan, Cody, I see a 6'5" player who has 150 target potential. This is a guy that I think NFL teams are going to be excited about. Then I've heard sort of the negative take where you've gone lower than this, but there's a whole trend around saying Tet's a really good wide receiver too. I know there's a couple guys we respect that are on that train, and they're on the Tet could end up being a Cortland Sutton type. So why don't you share your Tet McMillan thoughts? Did I snipe you here, or would you have gone elsewhere at the 103?
I just want to make sure I heard you right. You said that some people said that he could be a wide receiver 2 type and that I am lower. Is that the way you phrased that?
I think you're pretty low on Tet versus the community, Cody. Last time we were here, I'm not even going to say your comp because it was one.
That's not a comp. That was a low end comp.
Yeah, and so Cody also is a low end comp, and he's also a playing style. He's all sorts of like when he goes comps, like Cody's in the lab watching film and all this kind of stuff. But don't even say that one because that's going to be the whole focus of the show. But go ahead and share your thoughts on Tet McMillan, who's now off the board at the 103.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to say it because I know that the comments will love it. And I know we'll get tons of comments on YouTube. So please drop a comment, annihilate me for this floor comp for Tet McMillan. Because here's the thing, Theo, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a soapbox here for this Tet McMillan conversation. I don't hate Tet McMillan. And I took to Twitter two days ago about this Tet McMillan thing. And the whole premise is I've kind of taken on this shoe, I guess you'd say, or this situation where I said Tet McMillan is a very good wide receiver. However, he's not a top 10 draft pick. Now, here's the thing, Theo, and I said, nor should he be viewed that way by the media. Here's the thing that people, and this is what really shows who are people that understand what that even means and understand what the process looks like, understand like, I'm not a scout. Listen, okay, I'm a guy that evaluates grades. I have aspirations to be, one of the top of the line analysts and potentially future, work up into a team or whatever. But I really don't need to do that. I can just continue to do what I'm doing because I'm getting paid to do it, right? Not all these Twitter guys that are Twitter, jerks that are just tweeting, you don't even know what a top 10 or what is a top 10 pick. It's like, it's not a top 10 pick. It's a top 10 grade. He's not a top 10 graded receiver. Few are, right? Marv was. Malik Neighbors was. Jamar Chase was. Devonta Smith won a Heisman. He was. All I'm saying in that sentence is he's not a top 10 draft pick. He's not a top 10 graded player. Will he go in the top 10? Possible. This draft is not great. There's like 14 dudes with first-round grades in this class. I said it'll be a mistake if New England, a Vegas, a Jacksonville, in the current situations of those teams, turn that card in. I think it would be a mistake. And that's not hate towards Tet. That's reality. I think the T. Higgins thing is warranted. I think the Drake London thing is warranted. Listen, man, he's a good receiver. He's proved it with back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, over 700 yards as a freshman. But the facts are the facts, and the truth is the truth. And Daniel Jeremiah, for whatever reason, dropped him into his 20s. He dropped him to the Chargers in his latest mock. And then he comes out and he says, listen, from NFL research, it's been 20 years since a wide receiver was picked in the top 15 of an NFL draft after running a 4.55 or higher 40-yard dash. That player was 2005 USC's Mike Williams, who ran a 4.56 and was drafted 10th overall by the Lions. Bust. Mike Evans was the last 4.50 or higher wide receiver who was picked in the top 15. He ran a 4.53 in 2014 and was picked 7th overall. He was also 231 pounds, which is 12 pounds higher than Tet McMillan. And again, people will bring up Justin Jefferson. People will say, well, where'd you have Brian Thomas ranked last year? Well, the facts are the facts is Brian Thomas was a developmental route runner prospect. That's just what he was. He does not have a developed route tree right now when you're looking at receivers. Now he has this one trick, which is pretty high-end trick, and he scored a lot last year, and it came to fruition, just like the Christian Watson thing did. But Tet McMillan is a very good receiver. Last thought here is I'm sick and tired of everybody on Twitter running out to best case comp. Best case comp for Tet McMillan is T. Higgins. It is Drake London. We all understand that. But neither of those guys are top 10 graded prospects in their respective classes. Drake London was a really good prospect. Broke out even younger than Tet, right? Tet can be good.
Drake London did not run the 40. Didn't do it at USC's Pro Day.
Correct.
Didn't do it. And you know, so
and he was perceived to be just as slow as Tet.
Perceived to be slow. And I can remember, and I'll give a shout out. And I only give a shout out because I think these guys continually hit. But this is one when I talk to like Memphis Young. I can remember sharp guys like Memphis Young and Jerry Sinclair on the Dynasty Warzone being off of Drake London because of some of this sort of speed concerns. And again, I think when you look at Tet McMillan, I just think about what Jed Fish said. It's the best athlete he's ever seen. And I know that's his former guy, and it behooves him to have him drafted early. But a lot of the people sort of around Tet McMillan talk about him. He's a freak. He's a freak. He's a freak. NFL coaches are going to like Tet McMillan. Yep. I think a lot of the stuff he brings. And I think, Cody, when I start looking at the draft, I've seen people hedging. Every time somebody has him going low in the NFL draft, they'll say, oh, I could see him go in the top 10, but I'm going to have him go here at 22. He could go. They love giving this range because they're hedging. Because I do think this is one where he might fall out of the top 10. But I'll say this. I think he goes 8 overall to Carolina. I think Carolina could go defense. Carolina could, but 8 overall, that's the nuts landing spot. So I also think that there's a chance that if he does fall to 11, whatever, there are some teams in the NFL who need a wide receiver 1 who could make that trade up, especially if they view Tet McMillan as a guy who fits their offense. And I also think there's a firewall pick. If Ashton Jeanty's off the board, I've seen Matthew Golden mocked a lot to 112 to Dallas. But when I think back to those Dallas Cowboy offenses with CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper, if Tet's going to be a really good wide receiver too, have him fill the Amari Cooper role. CeeDee Lamb's in the elevated CeeDee Lamb role. Dak Prescott with those guys. Get your running back later in the draft. Maybe, just use a little bit of Javonte, and all of a sudden Dallas offense is sort of back on track. So Tet for me, 103, but I understand where you're coming from. Speed matters. It doesn't necessarily matter for fantasy football. I mean, we've seen plenty of guys in the 4.55 range put up big fantasy numbers. Cooper Kupp, 4.6, 240. Devontae Adams, he's over a 4.5 guy. Tet's an interesting one. Let's keep you going though here.
Higgins was a 4.59 guy. He was the first pick in the second round. Right.
And that's a perfect one right there. And T. Higgins also plays faster than he tested kind of guy. And I think with Tet, Tet doesn't look slow out there to me. Made a ton of plays downfield at Arizona, big play operator. So for me, I think he's going to land well. I'm going to continue to be high on Tet. And I think I'll take it a step further. I think he's like a top 15 prospect in Dynasty at the wide receiver spot, which is ahead of where some people have him right now as well. So we'll continue to butt heads, and I'm sure we'll continue to butt heads after the NFL draft about Tet a little bit as well. And that's cool because nobody wants to listen to me and you agree on every single guy, Cody. We keep it real and we back up, our takes. So let's see where you're going here. 104. It feels like you're going running back, but which running back?
I'm going running back. I mean, who'd have thunk it? This is the whole premise here behind my thoughts with the Tet thing is that I just. You're looking at an archetype that just historically hasn't given you a ton of overall wide receiver top 12 finishes in a season. Running back, you got more darts. Running back, you got more abilities. I think all 4 of the top running backs in this class have running back 1 in a season overall in the range of outcomes. I don't think Tet has that in his range of outcomes, or really any of these receivers have that in their range of outcomes at the wide receiver position. So for that, I'm going running back. I'm going to Ohio State, and I'm going with TreVeyon Henderson. I think both of these guys are nipping at each other's butts. I love them both. But TreVeyon, to me, is the best pass protector in the class. He's an elite pass catcher out of the backfield. And TreVeyon's a guy that has proved it, and a year ago should have been the running back 1 in the class, but people were disappointed with his season. He comes back, doubles down, has a good season with Quinshon, proves it through the championship, plays 17-game season. I love TreVeyon Henderson, everything he brings to the table. And I'll be honest with you, Theo, I've had these conversations with Alex in that it doesn't matter which way you go here. I think it's TreVeyon or Quinshon. I love them both exponentially, and I don't really like to pick. But when I'm in the situation like I am right now, where you made it hard for me because you could have taken one of these guys, and then I had to pick the other guy, I'm taking TreVeyon.
Yeah, and I think, Cody, you saying that makes a lot of sense. And if you're a dynasty manager, you talk about how, things that get you annoyed. I get annoyed when people get in these extreme battles about which way some guy should get ranked. TreVeyon Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, the answer to which one you want on your dynasty roster is both. And if you play in multiple dynasty leagues like I do, you want exposure to both these guys. I'll take exposure to both these guys on the same team any day of the week. But if it's a draft where I can only get one, that's fine. And it's not like I'm going to flip a coin when it comes down to it and want 50-50. But I want exposure to both these players. I think both these players have high-end upside, high-end production in their profile. I will say when it comes to Judkins, the path is there where he can handle a bell cow role. Henderson is going to be a guy that's going to be extremely good in a quasi committee where I don't think Henderson's ever going to give us top 10 in the NFL running back touches in a season, whereas I think Judkins could do that multiple times over in his career. So if you're chasing volume, Judkins is the one. If you're chasing the high-end receiving profile, the high-value touch guy, Henderson's the one. But Judkins underrated as a receiver. So they're both really good. They're both really athletic. They both were really good producers in college, and they're both going to be really good picks for your dynasty team. I'll keep it easy. 105, I'm going to take Quinshon Judkins, get him off the board. We just talked about both of them. Let me ask you before we get away from this, TreVeyon Henderson, what would be a face-melting landing spot? A spot that just mind-blowing, has the dynasty community just so excited about, oh my gosh, this happened. TreVeyon Henderson is
He's a Denver Bronco. He gets drafted ahead of Omarion Hampton, period.
And for me, the spot that I'm circling, Washington Commanders at 29, because we've had Laramie Tunsil, we added Deebo Samuel, we covered up at defensive tackle. They signed Kinlaw. So the three spots where maybe they needed to have a need pick in the first round also sort of met. And now Deebo doesn't, if there's a wide receiver they love at 29, they could still take him. Deebo's obviously older, and they could still use a wide receiver 3 here. But for me, what did Washington miss last year? Yak ability. Guys who could make big plays with the ball in their hands after the catch. TreVeyon adds that. Plus, you look at what happened last year when you added an elite running back talent next to Lamar Jackson, next to Jalen Hurts, mobile quarterback with that sort of explosive running back. I would love that for TreVeyon Henderson. I think we get really, really excited. And Washington, top 4 in rushing production as a team last year in the NFL. So that's sort of my spot. But Denver, you got me, Cody. Denver's the spot. If he had landed in Denver, forget all your Evan Engram is the Joker. Like, TreVeyon Henderson would get the ball so many times, it would be unbelievable. And that would be a spot where, of course, if he jumps Hampton, the dynasty community would be doing everything they can to get top 3 picks this year in all formats. So we have Quinshon Judkins off the board at the 105, Henderson at the 104, Tet went at number 103, Hampton at the 2, Jeanty. You are OTC here at the 106.
Hey, man, I just got to go ahead and do it. This is a guy that has risen high. You just talked about the landing spot earlier with the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to go Matthew Golden here. I don't love this. I'm just going to go on the record. I don't love the Tet thing. I don't love the Golden thing. I don't like spending this high a draft capital on guys that I don't fully, wholeheartedly believe can give me some elite output. I internally, in a real draft, if I'm sitting here, would rather click that trade down button or, take a running back. But in this situation, I don't really, love a running back as much. To me, this is where it's like a clear, after those 4 running backs, I'm cool just kind of getting out. If I can get out and get back to like the 201, I'll be completely content. But I'm going to go ahead and take Matthew Golden here from Texas at the 106.
Yeah, and Golden's fine pick here. I mean, the 106 at the end of the day, Cody, Golden's going to go somewhere in the top 18 picks. The 4.2940 was a chef's kiss on top. You're not drafting him because he's a speed guy. You've talked about this a lot. And anybody doesn't know, Cody covers Texas for Orange Bloods along with Alex Dunlap. Absolute fire for your Texas coverage. So if I have a question about a Texas player, I'm constantly asking Cody or Alex. But when you watched Matthew Golden, you sort of talked about how you liked him a lot, but you thought he'd end up being in the 4.4s. This was a positive. It's like a lot of these guys. That's another thing that's a little annoying this week, Cody, is I'm seeing all these people wanting to fade Golden because he ran the 4.29, just because the fastest guy in the draft class.
Wait, this is a thing?
This is a thing where the analytics crowd has come out and they're saying that the fastest guy in the class, the sub 4.3 guy, the quote unquote speed guy, has not had the greatest hit rate. And they cite a bunch of guys.
These are idiots. These are idiots.
There you go. Thank you very much.
I mean, this is idiot. I haven't seen that, but that is one of the most idiotic takes I've heard, simply because that tells me one thing, Theo. I don't watch football. That's what that tells. I don't watch football. I look at numbers, nerd. That's what I like. I'm data guy. Like, turn the game on, dude. Turn a highlight clip of Matthew Golden on. He doesn't. It's the same thing with Adonai Mitchell last year. And I know these are both Texas guys, but Adonai Mitchell famously at the combine told us, I don't run my fastest on every given rate. I probably play at 80% of my speed. So people were expecting a high 4.4 from Adonai Mitchell, 4.48, 4.50. We would have been happy last year. Right? He runs a 4.35. Matthew Golden, 4.44, good number. We know the guy's got wheels, but that's not his play style. Runs a 4.29. We're like, what? Right? It's the inverse with Isaiah Bond. Bond, this conversation could be had for a Bond because Bond's play style. Bond runs a 4.22. All right, we're fading him because the hit rate on the fast guys doesn't work. I would understand that. But Bond ran a 4.40, 4.39 official. Matthew Golden, you telling me, and I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about the proverbial you, the ex-you, is, I'm not drafting because of John Ross. I'm not drafting because of Tavon Austin. You don't watch football.
Henry Ruggs. They threw out Henry Ruggs.
Henry Ruggs. Wrong. Sorry. Listen. I love Memphis. I know he brought up Henry Ruggs yesterday or the day before, whatever day on the Son of Truth. He's not Henry Ruggs. That's just not his game. It's not how he plays football. He's got a contortion ability. He's got some of the strongest hands in the class. He's a route runner. He's an overall receiver. He's not Henry Ruggs. I'm sorry. He's not Tavon Austin. He's not who's the other guy I just mentioned? John Ross. He's not any of these guys that are one trick. He's not Jalen Hyatt.
Can I throw a name out there? Because I did a NFL comp show with Brett Whitefield over on the Fantasy Points channel. Cody's going to be doing some podcasts with Brett and I as well. That'll be fun. We've got some cool stuff planned in April. But Brett does a lot like Cody. He watches every single game of every single prospect. He talked about Tyler Lockett as a potential comparison for how he's going to be as a pro. And when we talk about Tyler Lockett, we talk about a guy who had a 100-catch season, had a couple of wide receiver 1 seasons, a bunch of top 18 wide receiver seasons. I threw out a little bit of Ladd McConkey here because I feel like I remember last year Ladd was a guy who was a 4.39 40, measurables very, very, very similar to Golden. Arm length is the same. Golden's about 10 pounds heavier and maybe an inch shorter, but relatively the same BMI, the same arm length, both speed guys. I remember Ladd last year. Ladd was a guy where a lot of the community was saying the college production wasn't there. Where's the college production? Where's the college production? And I'm not saying he's going to be Ladd McConkey. Like, that's a really high bar. But when it comes down to it, like Golden, I feel like a lot of the negativity is similar to what we had with Ladd. Now, Ladd, there was a quick correction because people are going to say, well, Theo, what are you talking about? Look where Ladd went in my rookie draft. Ladd was drafted by the Chargers in the second round, the nuts landing spot, which sort of corrected a lot of wrongs because people said, you know what? He's an easy wide receiver 1 on his team. But there was at this time, the silly season, the 30 days out, a lot of the same stuff with Ladd, with Matthew Golden. Your thoughts? Do you have an NFL sort of comp or a guy that vibes with you when looking at Golden?
I'll just say this. Golden's much closer to Ladd McConkey than he is a Ruggs or a Ross. I remember going to I was at the Ladd McConkey Pro Day, and Ladd McConkey, from a route running perspective, hands perspective, I mean, light years difference than those other guys. And I know the speed ended up coming through with Ladd. My comp for Matthew Golden at the beginning was Santonio Holmes. It's kind of morphed into a Jordan Addison type, who was also a first round pick. Alex, who also watches hellacious amounts of Texas football, was on the Odell Beckham, Stephon Diggs type of side of things. I think
whoa. Slow down. Alex Dunlap is on the Odell. Beckham.
Listen, and this is a guy, people are going to hear that and go, he was a guy that was at the combine for Odell Beckham. He was a guy that was at Odell Beckham's pro day. He saw him through the process.
I mean, and guys, people who forget Odell, like peak Odell was, as the young kids say, he was like that. And Cody, he was a low 4.3s guy. Odell was a low floor 3. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think we're talking like a 4.32 for Odell at the combine, like that kind of speed. So guys, this is Alex Dunlap, Cody Carpentier, Brett Whitefield. These guys are ball knowers galore all over Matthew Golden. This is going to be like a one that could get the kind of analytics community in a lot of trouble, because I'm with you. I think Golden, you're selling me even more. I'm high on Golden. Now I'm even higher after hearing Alex say that. 107, let's get this out of the way, because we can't turn this into a full Matthew Golden show. I gave Cody a hard out. Cody, your hard out might be like...
We got 6 picks in 40 minutes. We got to do like the opposite here. We got to get like 8
so this is we're going to go speed up. Okay, 107, I'm going Tyler Warren. It is not tight end premium. If this were tight end premium, Cody, I would consider steaming Warren up to the 104. I think in tight end premium, if you're in FFPC drafts, like I am, when you get to rookie draft season, which is 1 week after the NFL draft, and Tyler Warren goes somewhere inside the top 10 overall picks, which I think he's going to. And I don't think we necessarily know the landing spot. I'll also throw out the Dallas Cowboys could be in the mix for a Tyler Warren. If they view him better than they do some of the other wide receivers in this class, they might say, you know what, that's our number 2 target. See you later, Jake Ferguson. See you later, Luke Schoonmaker. This is a difference maker. Tyler Warren is really, really good. And this is a guy who could lead his team in targets at a point early on in his NFL career. The only argument to going against Tyler Warren, like you said with the running backs, is I have access to another elite tight end a few picks from now in Colston Loveland, who could be better than Tyler Warren as a pro, but Warren's my tight end 1. And this is the environment we're in. It's last year we saw it with McBride, with Bowers. We saw it the year before with Laporta. Young tight ends making impacts. Keep it going with Warren. Kick it to you at the 108, unless you want to say something about Warren.
No, 108. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Emeka Egbuka. We'll have a conversation here. We don't have to do it right now, but a different receiver. We'll have it. Trust me. But Emeka Egbuka is going to be my guy right here at the 108. Egbuka is a guy that I just think he gives you a model of consistency here. And I've talked about my disdain for this overall receiver class. In upside, I think you're getting a Jarvis Landry, a Robert Woods, just like you know what it is. Kind of like Chris Olave coming out. You just kind of knew what you were getting. He's going to get you a rack. He's going to give you a wide receiver 2 season. That's what you're getting in Emeka Egbuka. It's gonna really help the floor of your fantasy football roster. 133 first downs and 194 catches in his career, which is a nice 69%. Like this, I just know what I'm getting in Emeka Egbuka, so I'm taking him here at the 108.
One of the safest prospects in this class. Nothing else to say. You nailed it with Egbuka. Also going to get the first round draft capital. Egbuka is really, really good. Does he have it in him to be a top 5 wide receiver? I don't know. But I think at the minimum, he's going to give us a bunch of wide receiver 2 seasons. He's the kind of guy who could be on your dynasty roster for 6 years. That he's that kind of player. 109, Kaleb Johnson for me. I mean, we talked about the big 4 running backs. Kaleb Johnson is my RB5. A little bit of a gap now. You're going to start seeing Kaleb Johnson at the 1-2 turn at the beginning of the second round for super flex drafts. I think that just sort of makes him a value. The one knock on Johnson is not the little bit faster 40 time than a guy like Hampton, a guy like Judkins. It's that he needs volume to deliver for us. All running backs need that to an extent, but with Kaleb, I think he really needs it. And the little bit going a little bit lower in the draft, like the 45 through 60 range, makes it less likely than if he was going to go in the 20 through 35 range. So Kaleb Johnson will be a starting running back in the NFL. I'm very confident in that, but I like him at RB5, not RB4. Anything to add before we move on to the 110?
I think you're proper. I think that's good. I got a different running back, one notch ahead of him, but I think that Kaleb is without a doubt a top 6 back. I've cooled off a little bit on the Kaleb Johnson front. I'll leave you with a nuclear landing spot, and then I'll walk away. They draft Kelvin Banks in round 1. The Bears do. They take Kaleb Johnson with one of their 2 second-round picks, and he's the David Montgomery to the Swift, who is Gibbs in the Ben Johnson offense. And I think you make hay. Everyone's looking for this Gibbs. You got to be looking for the Montgomery in that offense with Kaleb Johnson. At the next pick at 110, my card was turned in long before your last pick was turned in. That was Luther Burden, a guy that, like I said before, I was going to bring up. He was my wide receiver 1 overall, and I've cooled off for one reason and really one reason only. And I might be wrong for it. I might eat crow for it. I might kill myself for it. But it's because of the hand size. 8.5-inch hands. Colston Listenby is the only receiver in the last decade that fits the archetype, which is 5'10" to 6'1". That's my archetype, and 190 to 205 pounds. The only receiver with smaller hands in that archetype is Colston Listenby, and then it's Luther Burden. And the only guy in the bottom 25 in hand size in that range is George Pickens that has broken out. Everybody else at the top of the food chain, is Odell, 10-inch hands. DJ Moore, Stephon Diggs with almost 10-inch hands. Justin, all the guys that succeed in PPR are up there with 9.5, 10-inch hands, and Burden's down here. So I'm a little worried, and we're seeing a lot more of the NFL draft capital project into the second round for Burden. I would love a New Orleans Saint landing spot. I would love a New England Patriot landing spot, but right here, right now, I'm taking him with a 110 with a smile on my face.
I'll say another underrated landing spot that I keep bringing up for wideout, Tennessee Titans. Beginning of the second round, they have a need for speed and youth at the wide receiver spot. That's another spot for these, Luther Burdens, and spoiler alert, a couple other wide receivers are going to go soon. It's interesting you bring up the hand size. You're the one who kind of really have been pushing on this, and it's interesting. Sub 9.9-inch hands, 8.5-inch hands, very small. And we'll see how NFL teams value that. It'll be very interesting on draft night if he falls out of the first round. And if he gets into the second round, is he the first wide receiver off the board? Do teams have a chance to regroup, reevaluate, and select him super, super early in the second? Luther Burden, a very interesting case. I know you've been high on him since the start. I'm seeing a little bit of adjustment. We did this about 5 weeks ago, and you had Burden going off the board, I think, like at the 104. So Cody has adjusted. 111 here for me. I'll just get the other elite tight end off the board. I talked about Tyler Warren. I'm going to go Colston Loveland. And at the end of the day, Cody Carpentier and I, every single NFL draft, getting a little bit of an argument over how many tight ends are going to get selected in the early portion of the draft. Cody's usually a realist, and I'm usually a dreamer. You've been right on this more so. But this year, Cody Carpentier, how many tight ends, where do these guys go off? Give me an over-under where both their names are called in the NFL draft.
Both are gone. Well, this is a lazy. Both are 100%. Both are 100% gone by 26. I think you look at Tyler Warren from Penn State. He's gone before 14, which is the Colts, and I think Loveland's gone by 26 to the Rams. Those are the floors for me for both of these guys. And I've heard murmurs of potentially a Mason Taylor getting up in round 1. I don't think it's going to actually happen.
Yeah, Mason Taylor is an interesting one, and we've got another group of tight ends. Maybe we'll say a couple of their names in the second round. Close out the first round for us here, Cody, with the 112.
All right, I'm going to do it with a little side help of my shares over on Origins on Fast Draft here. If you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, RJ Harvey, that's a 74% rostership in my portfolio. 74.3%. Oh, my Tory Horton stuff just went up to 80%. Look at that. 80, a little over. I think anybody in the portfolio business would tell me I'm a little overextended on both of these guys. Here's the thing, Theo. I don't care. RJ Harvey's coming out right now 27th overall on Origins drafts, which I think is completely cockamamie. I'm taking him here at the 12 to close out round 1. This guy's got pizza pans for quads. He hits that 4.40 40. This guy's lightning fast. I think the opportunities are there. The profile isn't the crispest or the most crisp profile. Broke out at age 22 and a half. But man, do I love me some RJ Harvey.
And RJ Harvey's my RB6 in this class. You have RJ Harvey as your RB5 now. So we're right in line. I'll say Brett Whitefield has him RB3. There's a lot of RJ Harvey sort of people who are, I don't think, high enough. Cody, it's one of these guys where it's the correction guy. After the NFL draft, heading into our dynasty drafts, you have like a 1 week correction time. I think a lot of sites are going to have to raise RV Harvey like 10 spots, 1-2 turn in single QB. I think that's the way this ship is heading. And I think he ends up being a second round pick. Brett Whitefield mentioned the name Maurice Jones-Drew. Do you have a RJ Harvey? And I'll say low end comp is he's a much faster Jaylen Warren. And if you imagine Jaylen Warren with wheels and Jaylen Warren just a way more athletic Jaylen Warren with higher draft capital is a pretty enticing one, considering Warren was an RB2 in year 2.
How about healthy J.K. Dobbins as a ceiling, and Devonta Freeman as kind of a middling comp?
Middling comp, former RB1 overall Devonta Freeman. You heard it here first from Cody Carpentier. Let's quickly recap the first round, and then we're going to rip through the second round. Ashton Jeanty goes at the 101, Omarion Hampton at the 102, Tet McMillan at the 103, which started off like a 10-minute conversation. TreVeyon Henderson at the 104, Quinshon Judkins at the 105, Matthew Golden at the 106, Tyler Warren at the 107, Emeka Egbuka at the 108, Kaleb Johnson at the 109, Luther Burden at the 112, Colston Loveland at the 111, RJ Harvey at the 112. So I'm here at the 201. 201, we are going to consider Travis Hunter in this one, guys. So anybody wondering why we didn't say Travis Hunter's name, we're considering him, but we're both sort of a let's wait and see guy. I don't want to get stuck with an early rookie pick where I'm going to be holding the bag. I'm going to go flag plant time. 201 right here. I'm taking Jaylin Noel. Jaylin Noel's my guy. I know you talked about Luther Burden. I think Jaylin Noel has a lot of the same qualities as a guy that can really, really win in the slot. We saw him at Iowa State in the slot. Really, really, really good there. But he's got the speed, the athleticism, and the dog mentality and the strength, Cody, the 23 reps on the bench press that he can win on the outside. Ripped up the Senior Bowl. That's a sign that an NFL team is going to draft you earlier. It's been this way for several years. Then ripped up the combine. Another positive in Jaylin Noel's hat. I think this is a top 45 pick. I think he goes towards the early portion of the second round. And when you start talking about your New England pick, that's a spot. New England takes Jaylin Noel, 38 overall, wheels up, Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Jaylin Noel, and not a whole lot of wide receiver target competition. Give me some Jaylin Noel as a New England Patriot. But he's good wherever he lands because I think this guy has multiple pathways to fantasy viability.
100%. Love me some Jaylin Noel. Showed out at the Senior Bowl. I'm going to go with a different direction here for 202. I'm going to go with that guy that's, for me, in my rankings, it's a T5. It's a 5A, 5B. And this is where I have Travis Hunter. NFL draft grade, Travis Hunter is the number 1 wide receiver in the class, period, by like a big margin as far as overall grade at the position. But obviously there's other circumstances in that situation. The other guy that I have tied in my fantasy football rankings at wide receiver is wide receiver 5B is Tre Harris from Ole Miss. Tre Harris is going to be my pick here at the 202 at Ole Miss. I mean, he's got upside here. If there was one guy that I think could surprise us and really burst through and give you potentially bust into that top 12 in like a season, overall finish, I think Tre Harris is a guy that could do that. I think he's got some Marvin Jones to his game, Cortland Sutton, some Keon Coleman a little bit to that game. I love everything really that Tre Harris brings to the table. And he was a guy that in that offense with Jordan Watkins, who was one of the leaders in the SEC in dynamic plays, super explosive, I should say, and Juice Wells, who was a big guy in the portal last year, didn't really do a lot. Tre Harris was, and Colby Prescore on the tight end, Tre Harris was the go-to target, the first read in a Lane Kiffin offense from Jackson Dart this last year. I love Tre Harris here. And as far as NFL draft capital, where I think he's going to go off the board, I think we're logically looking in round 2, maybe at the end of round 3, end of round 2, early round 3. And we talked about that New England spot. That's exactly where I mocked him at pick 69 in my 4-round mock last Friday.
He'd be a very interesting Kansas City Chief, too, stylistically, with those two
Yes.
picks at the end of the second, early third, when you consider what they have in Worthy, what they have in Rice, add that sort of big body. And I'll say I'm not as high on Tre Harris, but Tre Harris was unbelievable early in the season, and he had over 1,000 yards in big boy football in the SEC conference in like 8 games played. So Tre Harris is right there, but I'm going to keep this wide receiver run going. I'm going to look at my league and I'm going to say running backs are going to come to me soon, but it seems like we have a little bit of a wide receiver cleanup. We're playing chicken with Travis Hunter. One of us wants Travis Hunter, but we're willing to push him down a little bit. I'm going to say Jayden Higgins, and everything you said about Tre Harris and your enthusiasm for him, I'm going to sort of flip-flop that with Jayden Higgins. He ran better than Tre Harris at the combine. I think that matters. I think he's going to be drafted earlier than Tre Harris. He can be a big slot at the next level. He has pathways to having a Cortland Sutton-like outcome. I've heard the name T. Higgins mentioned a little bit with him. But Jayden Higgins, big-time athlete. And a stat for you, Cody, because you love these stats. My stat is now your stat. We can share this one. The last time we saw a pair of wide receiver teammates have 1,000 yards each in the Big 12, we had Jaylin Noel and Jayden Higgins this year. The last time it happened, 2018, CeeDee Lamb and Hollywood Brown. Not bad NFL pedigree when this sort of thing happens. So Iowa State for this particular draft is wide receiver U. Both Iowa State wide receivers off the board, pick 15. Can you even believe it? Iowa State Nation. You're here at the 204. Which way you going?
Maybe more impressive is that Higgins and Noel didn't have a Heisman winner throwing them the rock. Like Lamb and Hollywood did.
Oh, side note, where are you at on Rocco Becht? Because this is one where people are like, who's their quarterback? He's back next year. Do you like him?
We'll see.
We'll see. Okay, so we'll see. Wait and see approach.
He's an Iowa State quarterback, man.
There you go. Hey, listen, Brock Purdy. We got Brock Purdy.
Hey,
so
put Mac Jones up in your dynasty rankings.
There you go.
Side note. All right. So after Higgins goes, which is also an interesting note, the 103 and the 203, same team. 103 took Tet, 203 you take Higgins. Two just plodding receivers. So great selection.
Well, no, this is a Matt Kelly thing. We are not the
same team. 103 and 203 are the same team.
No, we're not. We are 24 teams in a dynasty league.
No, okay. I'll give you that every team, every other pick isn't the same team. I'll give you that. But okay, 102 fine. And 202, that's the same team, and you damn well know it.
I capitulate. Team 103 was very wide receiver needy, gets Tet McMillan, and then gets Jayden Higgins. Where are you at with the 204?
All right, give me the running back. I'll take Ollie Gordon. I don't need not a lot needs to be said about the Ollie Gordon side of things. I mean, Ollie Gordon is a guy that proved his worth at Oklahoma State. That team absolutely sucked this year in the Big 12, and they were finished at the bottom of the barrel because the quarterback plays down. The offensive line play did not live up to expectations. They couldn't play defense, and simply when none of those things go together, your running game, doesn't matter who it is going to take a kick in the nuts, and that's exactly what it did. So I'm going to take Ollie Gordon here. I'm going to get some sick value for a guy that at one point for a couple of years was looked at as a Devy guy, as like that running back 1 and 2 with TreVeyon Henderson in this class. Give me Ollie Gordon.
And I knew we'd start drafting running backs. Ollie Gordon's a fine pick, but I'm going to go with Bhayshul Tuten, the combine star. I think Tuten is going to give teams what they're chasing in TreVeyon Henderson, but a little bit later in the draft. I think Tuten with that combine did enough that he's going to be selected on day 2, whether that's the end of the second, more likely the third round. But the last time we saw a 4.32 40-yard dash running back go in the third round, it was Devon Achane to Miami. 4.32 40, Cody. So Bhayshul Tuten, big playability, high-value touch guy, and a perfect back for the modern era. I threw out CJ Spiller, but peak CJ Spiller, a little bit vibes with Bhayshul Tuten. CJ Spiller gave us a 16-point per game season at one point in his career. Tuten's about 10 pounds heavier, but pick your favorite explosive, fast running back, and you can create a pathway for Bhayshul Tuten. NFL is going to value athleticism a little bit more, Cody, than in some years because they are chasing that Jahmyr Gibbs pathway. They're chasing big playability, and Tuten has that in his wheelhouse. Thoughts on Tuten before you pick at the 206?
I'm having a hard time because I see my comp, but I can't remember. I think it's Justin Forsett. I hate that when you can see the guy, but you can't remember who it is. I didn't write his down. Gosh, that really ticks me off. I think it was Justin Forsett in the back of my head. I love Tuten though. I don't love him as much as you. I think the athleticism is going to push him up into these conversations, and I think he's going to be a guy that is probably drafted somewhere in this, probably 203 to turn pick, 203 to 212. So I think that
I'll interrupt you real quick. And again, this is one where I adjusted it post combine, where I was with you, where just pure evaluative prospects, like looking at the prospects themselves, I didn't like him as much. But again, when we factor in draft capital, you can be drafted on day 3 and still hit in fantasy football at the running back position, but you have a much better pathway when it's day 2. And at the end of the day, a lot of the guys we like here in the running back ranks, they just don't have that pure athleticism that Tuten has, where I think this is a year where NFL teams are going to evaluate. I think we should evaluate just a little bit more, even though 40 time and running back production, this is not something where we need that super fast guy, but we'll take it when he actually gets the draft capital. This is not Isaac Orendo in the last year. This is not some guy who's just a speed score guy. Tuten had production in the ACC, moved up from North Carolina A&T, earned it, going from the MEAC up to the ACC and getting that sort of production, then putting together with that sort of combine. For me, I have to adjust my ranks on him a little bit.
I like it. I might be making a misstep here with this selection. I think, what is this, 206? I'm taking Tory Horton here. Colorado State wide receiver, grad senior, 6'2", 196, runs a 4.41. I projected a 4.47 coming in. He's a guy that had a 3.45 yards per route run, the big stat that everybody loves for breakouts. When I look at Horton, I see a stud, man. This guy's not getting a lot of helium right now because he went down with a knee injury early this season, had some surgery, got back, and like I said, ran much faster than expectation. 31% of the team's market share in 2023, which is his last full season, which is top 15 in the class. I think he's a professional route runner with some sick nuance to his game. 35% of the time in the slot. All Mountain West guy at Colorado State. Yeah, I was like brain farting there. And my comp for him is Josh Reynolds was a stud at Texas A&M, but he was overshadowed a little bit by some guys some people know. And then my other comp is Jordan Addison, a bigger Jordan Addison. He's a weird body type, right? He's a body type that I was a little worried about. I might have moved him down if the numbers came out to fruition, which they were expected to be. 6'3", like 185. He comes in at 6'026. 6'024, 196. So a lot closer to that archetype rather than that like long, lanky, injury-prone body type. So I love Tory Horton. I'm probably much ahead of my skis, and drafted on Fast Draft, that kind of told me that with my 80%, I need to probably not draft him anymore, but 80% ownership of Tory Horton right now across 37 leagues.
Every time I talk to you about Tory Horton, I realize I'm probably way too low on him. You've been constantly pounding the table for Horton. This is one where we'll see. You do have multiple seasons in a row now where you get a G5 guy who sneaks into day 2, Rashee Rice, Malachi Corley, and then probably going to be Jalen Royals. This year we could maybe have 2 of them if Horton steams up. So draft capital wise, where are you projecting him in the actual NFL draft? Do you reference the injury?
Second pick in round 4. So the second pick on day 3 to the Browns.
All right, there we go. So we have Tory Horton off the board at the 206. I'm at the 207. I have to take Travis Hunter now. You just took a Colorado State wide receiver. Yeah. This is the point in the draft where even if they tell me on draft night, Cody, that Travis Hunter's playing defense and we should be careful. It's going to be, they say, we're going to use him a little bit on offense, but this is our shutdown corner. This is a set it and forget it franchise cornerback for us. This is still the time where I call the BS and I say, if he's on your roster, when push comes to shove, how can you not get him the ball? How can you not use him? And some of these teams that might be drafting him, they could really use him. You brought up the New York Giants. Look at the New England Patriots, Jacksonville Jaguars. You think we're going to, when push comes to shove and the game's on the line, you think we're not going to call a route for Travis Hunter when I'm looking at De'Ami Brown and I'm looking at Brenton Strange as my 2 main options opposite Brian Thomas? No. Travis Hunter, this is the Mendoza line. Even if he's a full-time cornerback, I'm still taking him right here. Did I snake you on this? Were we saying we weren't going to draft him? All right, Cody, did I cheat on this one?
No, I think that's fair. Like I thought about taking him in the Horton spot, but I was just like, man, I'll just kick the can. One of us was going to have to do it sooner or later. So I think it's a good pick. I'll take the guy that's going to get drafted ahead of him, which few people will. I'm going to go quarterback here, something I don't really love doing. But at the end of the second round, I'm going to establish a tier break. We just kind of did it. I think Horton probably belongs below this tier break in reality. Probably should have taken Hunter. And then that becomes a tier break, and you add the quarterback in there. I'm going to take Cam Ward here, projected number 1 overall pick, Cam Ward. Arm talent's there as a projection quarterback. We're not getting over our skis, I think, at the 208, and I'll take him. You know what? I'm going to take him because in the first round, at the 8th pick overall, I took Emeka Egbuka, who I think fits great in Tennessee in the second round. Hey, man, we just got a suicide stack in a rookie draft in Cam Ward and Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah, and this one makes my pick easy at the 208. I'm taking Elic Ayomanor of Stanford. I know I could have probably gone a little earlier on him, but I thought you were more likely to take Jayden Higgins. I wanted to be able to get Ayomanor. I'm comfortable taking him early second round in single QB, and I think he's going to land very, very well. Cody, when we first podcasted, I said I thought he's going to be a top 40 pick. That's looking more and more likely. Excellent combine. Surprising combine from Ayomanor to run those mid 4.4 speed on top of that profile. I think he's a sneaky guy who could become a wide receiver 1 out of this draft class, where down in this slot in the second round to get a potential wide receiver 1. And I think he's a wide receiver 2, a comfortable wide receiver 2 for a lot of NFL teams. Elic Ayomanor off the board. Where you at?
I think this is a good spot for him. I think this is probably where he belongs going. I'm a big Ayomanor guy, but I don't think I'm the biggest. So I have him stationed right now at receiver 9, which is behind everybody else we've talked about. So he's the next receiver in line for me. So it is what it is. I feel good about it. We've all known the Travis Hunter tape he took on and kind of walked the dog against Travis Hunter. So I'll leave Elic Ayomanor. I want to see what the draft capital is. As far as where I think he goes, I think he's a guy that goes on day 2. And somewhere in the second round, back end second round, Alec Pierce type situation. So the 210,
three picks left. So you got 2 more picks in your rotation here, Cody.
So 210 here. I'm gonna go. Man, I got 2 guys at the tip of my tongue here. I'm gonna go ahead and take the receiver. I don't want to do it, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take Isaiah Bond. He's gotten a lot of depression over the course of the last month, given his 4.40, but only 2 guys the last 2 draft classes at the receiver position, or honestly offensive weaponry, running back, receiver, tight end, quarterback, doesn't matter. Only 2 guys have ran more than 24 miles per hour on the GPS at the combine. Xavier Worthy, who broke the record, and Isaiah Bond, who lied about wanting to break the record, at least hit it in the mile per hour perspective, hit 24 miles per hour. So I'm going to go Isaiah Bond here, a guy that probably falls into the early part of round 3, if not the late part of round 2. You know, I would love an Eagles, a Bills, you know, a Lions, some kind of landing spot like this. I mean, it would make hay. And this is kind of the dream spot, a guy that's super talented, landing in an offense with a good quarterback and the good situation. So I'm going to go Bond here, 210.
Yeah, Bond's an interesting one, and he's going to run the 40 again, correct, Cody?
Yep.
When's that going down? Is that going to be at Texas, or is this going to be
Tuesday the 25th?
Tuesday the 25th. So we could see a big correction. I made this parallel on another pod. This could be a Audric Estime situation, but like with really fast guys, where he could run like a 4.3 flat, 4.28 in a better condition. We brought up the miles per hour testing. He hit 24 miles per hour. It doesn't make sense to hit 24 miles per hour and then run this sort of 40. So keep it going. Let's speed this up. 211 for me. Gosh, there's like 6 names I want to say, and I really wish we would have done a 3-round rookie draft, but we're only going 2 here. I could easily go with my guy, Damian Martinez, who I'm higher on the consensus. Brashard Smith, who I'm higher on consensus at the running back spot. I could push Elijah Arroyo, who I think is deserved of this spot because of his fantasy football projections for me. But I'm going to go DJ Giddens. I talked about how NFL teams are going to value athleticism. When it comes to DJ Giddens, if there was no Bhayshul Tuten, he would have had the steam right after the combine. His combine was phenomenal. And we put that into context for a guy with that sort of production level, that sort of ability to sustain volume. DJ Giddens, off the board at the 211, running back Kansas State. Share your thoughts on DJ Giddens and then close us out here at the 212, Cody.
I think Giddens is in this group of 15 guys that I think all have opportunities to lead backfields. I think he's got the prototypical size. He broke out at a good age. I know breakout's not a big thing for running backs, but he did have 2,000-yard seasons at Kansas State, a team that's had multiple backs over the course of the last couple of years, and Giddens is able to kind of rise to the cream of the crop of that group. I like Giddens. A lot of the people that opinions matter like Giddens. So he's a guy that probably has a chance to go on day 2, think round 3. I think that would be big for him. I'll close it out with one guy that kind of an effort pick. I think that once we get to this spot, a lot of stuff is what it is. I'm going to go with the guy that also had a great combine, 6'0", 212 pounds, nearly 10-inch hands, 4.4 340-yard dash, wide receiver from Arkansas, Isaac Teslaa. This guy's family is one of the loudest families, loudest people. They were the loudest people at the NFL Combine this year. Isaac Teslaa did it in the SEC this last year. I got to give this guy his flowers. I don't love him, but we're outside the top 10 at the wide receiver position, and Isaac Teslaa's a guy that I think can go in and truly be your Alec Pierce, and I think he's a more refined route runner than Alec Pierce, and as an athletic perspective, he's got everything that Alec Pierce brings to the table, so I'm going to go ahead and just shoot the moon here with Isaac Teslaa.
Another guy who transferred up goes Hillsdale to Arkansas, then tears up the combine. What a story for Isaac Teslaa. Cody absolutely flag planting with picks with Horton, picks with Teslaa. This was unbelievable. Let's recap the second round for our podcast audience. Jaylin Noel at the 201, Tre Harris at the 202, Jayden Higgins at the 203, Ollie Gordon at the 204, Bhayshul Tuten at the 205, Tory Horton, wide receiver, Colorado State, 206, Travis Hunter, the all-everything player for Colorado at the 207, Cam Ward, the probable number 1 overall pick, quarterback out of Miami at the 208, Elic Ayomanor at the 209, wide receiver from Stanford, wide receiver Isaiah Bond from Texas at the 210, DJ Giddens, the very athletic running back from Kansas State at the 211, and Isaac Teslaa from Arkansas at the 212. A reminder to our YouTube audience, Dynasty Life is leaving Player Profiler YouTube, and a reminder to the audience who subscribes to the Player Profiler main feed, make sure you're subscribing to Dynasty Life's podcast feeds. Dynasty Life will be leaving the Player Profiler main feed, podcast feed at the end of the month. Cody, you absolutely crushed it. Let everybody know what you have coming out.
You can find everything over at rosterwatch.com on my behalf of the NFL Draft, write-ups, mock drafts, and then my daily show, the Draft Rankings Show, on the Draft Rankings YouTube channel and on the podcast feed. Just search the Draft Rankings Show. Less than 10 minutes every morning on your drive to work. You can fit my podcast. You can fit 4 of my podcasts in, probably for some of you guys that listen on 2x speed on your way to work. Love you, Theo. Appreciate you having me on as always. It's always good chopping up, talking to these rookies and learning some things.
100%. Make sure you're following Cody, everything he does. Make sure you're sticking here with Dynasty Life, and look for Cody Carpentier next week on the Sonic Truth Dynasty podcast with Matt Kelly and myself.